Okay, for chapter 14, Into Darkness, the story really takes a turn, and I like the title of the chapter because I feel like it really gives some serious weight to what's happening in the story. We're used to kind of this fantastical, magical land that we are used to with Peter, and this story, because it's taking place in modern times, it's a little bit more serious in terms of the action that we are seeing. So the fact that Sarah and Aidan are running away from home in modern times gives it a serious feel. This is a shorter chapter, but there are a lot of elements that remind the reader that this is happening in modern times. They ran through the darkness and ran until their lungs burned and their breath came in hoarse gasps, and they still ran. They stuck to side roads, avoiding illumination, keeping away from streetlights. From time to time, they stopped to look back and listen, straining to hear over the ear-pounding sounds of their own frantic heartbeats. But they heard nothing unusual and saw only blackness. Their phones began ringing. The caller ID showed their home number. Obviously, it was their parents, and they had discovered that they were missing. They didn't answer, and eventually they turned off their phones to stop from the ringtones. After an hour, they moved on and ventured cautiously toward a main highway. They followed it for another mile until they came to a strip shopping center. It was largely deserted. Most of the stores were closed for the night, and at the far end there was a glowing green sign. "Let's go to the Starbucks," said Sarah. "Do you think it's safe?" said Aidan. "We won't stay long. I'll plug in my iPad. The battery's almost dead, and I want to do some stuff on the internet." "What stuff?" "I'll tell you when we get there." They made their way along the rows of stores, head swiveling. Nobody appeared to be following them. Reaching the Starbucks, they peered through the window. There were 2 workers behind the counter. The only customers were 2 young men and a young woman sitting at the counter, drinking coffee and talking. Sarah and Aidan went inside, Sarah heading for a table near an electrical outlet at the far corner of the other customers. "Get me a grande skinny caramel macchiato," she said to Aidan. "Get you a what?" said Aidan. "Just get me a medium coffee." Aidan went to the counter and Sarah took the iPad out of her backpack. She plugged it in, turned it on, and began tapping on the screen. A few minutes later, Aidan returned with her coffee and a hot chocolate for himself. "What are you doing?" he said. "Writing an email to Mom and Dad. Take a look." She handed the iPad to Aidan, who read, "Mom and Dad, please don't be mad at us. We have to do this and we can't tell you why, at least not now. Please don't try to find us. We're totally safe and promise to stay in touch. We're really, really sorry and we love you. XOXO, Sarah and Aidan." And there is the note, and I'll put that up in Classroom as well for you to take a look at. "I would never write XOXO, said Aidan, handing the iPad back. "Too bad," said Sarah. "Why'd you say we're safe? We're not safe." "I know, I just don't want them worrying." "They're going to worry anyway, a lot." "I know, they're going to look for us and call the police." "Maybe we should go to the police." Sarah shook her head. "We have the same problem here we had in London. We don't know where or who Ambra is. He can be anybody. If we go to the police, he can become the police. That's how he got the star stuff and us." "So what do we do?" Sarah was tapping on the screen. "We find the star catchers." "But how? I mean, even if they're still around, how do we find them?" Sarah turned the iPad screen towards Aidan. "This is how." Aidan looked at the screen and laughed. "Ha! Facebook? Are you serious? If they're still around, they'll have the same technology we do." "Do you think they're going to have a Facebook page like, 'Hi, we're star catchers, want to be our friend'?" "No, they wouldn't do that, but they could be monitoring the internet, looking for some situation like this where star stuff needs protecting. They could be looking for some key names or key words." "So what are you going to do?" Sarah, tapping again, said, "I'm going to make a Facebook page for Molly Astor." "Oh my gosh, I don't believe this." "Do you have a better plan?" That shut Aidan up. For 10 minutes they sat in silence, Aidan sipping his hot chocolate and Sarah leaving her coffee untouched as she tapped on the screen. When she was done, she turned it toward Aidan, showing him a simple Facebook page she created for Molly Astor. In the profile she had written, "I found Mr. McGill's box. It's full of the stuff. But now I'm being shadowed. Can you help me?" Aidan looked up at Sarah. "So this is it? This is our plan?" "No, I'm also going to get on Twitter." Aidan rolled his eyes, and Sarah resumed tapping. The young men and women left. One of the workers told Sarah and Aidan that the Starbucks would close in 10 minutes. Sarah was still tapping away. "What are you doing?" "Craigslist." Aidan sighed and slumped in his chair. Then he sat up and touched Sarah's arm. She looked up and noted the door. A dark figure stood outside, silhouetted by the bright lights. Oh, no. Maybe there's a way out the back. They stood quickly, and Sarah unplugged the iPad and shoved it into her backpack. One of the workers, a middle-aged woman, said, "Can I help you?" "Is there a back way out?" "Huh? We were wondering if we could leave by the..." They stopped at the sound of the door opening. He and Sarah turned. A tall man entered. He wore a long overcoat and a baseball cap pulled low, hiding his eyes. The man started toward Sarah and Aidan. They stood frozen. There was nowhere to go except the dark figure, now 6 feet away, now 4 feet away, now... "Hey, Bob," said the woman behind the counter. "Thought you weren't going to make it tonight. We're about to close." The tall man raised his head, revealing blue eyes and a broad, friendly face. "Just got off work. Any coffee left?" "Absolutely," said the woman, grabbing a cup. Aidan nudged Sarah and pointed toward the door. She looked and saw the man was clearly casting a shadow. She looked back at her brother, and they shared a moment of shoulder-sagging relief. "Let's go," said Sarah, heading for the door. "Where are we going?" said Aidan. "I don't know. We've got to find some place to spend the night, and then we what? We hope somebody gets in touch with us?" She pulled the door open, and they went out, their eyes scanning the shopping center and parking lot. Both were deserted. They crossed the parking lot and then the highway and entered a poorly lit side street. Tired now, they trudged forward, every step taking them farther from home and deeper into the darkness. And that's the end of the chapter. So it's a shorter chapter, but it does set the scene nicely. Sarah kind of casts out a net, almost like she's fishing, and hoping that she's going to get some information on some star catchers. I won't leave you hanging too much till Monday, because I can tell you that chapter 15 is called The Response. So there's going to be some sort of response that that Sarah gets from the internet, but you are going to have to wait until Monday to find out who responds and where that takes them next. So again, we're approaching halfway through the book, and I really find that the second half of this book is really, really exciting compared to the first half of the book. So if you like the first half so far, I think you'll enjoy the second half as well. Okay, next chapter will be The Response on Monday.